Hey everyone, welcome to this explainer. Today we're doing something a bit different. We're going to look at India's massive, incredibly dynamic economy, but we are going to treat it like a living, breathing organism. When we look at a country of this incredible scale, it can be totally overwhelming to just stare at spreadsheets and GDP figures. So instead, if we really want to comprehend what keeps this giant moving, growing, and thriving, we need to look at its anatomy.
To do this, we've got a quick roadmap. First, we're defining the foundation. Then, we'll map out the nerves, which are transport and communications. After that, we check the bloodstream, meaning finance, and the engine and fuel, which covers energy and irrigation. Finally, we'll wrap up with the diagnosis.
All right, let's jump right into section 1, defining the foundation. Before we can even begin to diagnose the health of this massive system, we absolutely have to lock down what the system actually is. So think of economic infrastructure as the basic facilities and services, stuff like transport, banking, and power. These are the things that directly support the whole system of production and distribution. It's kind of like this. Agriculture and industry might be the muscles and bones doing the actual heavy lifting, but honestly, they are completely paralyzed without the underlying infrastructure to support them.
Now, there's a really crucial difference we need to clear up between economic and social infrastructure. Economic infrastructure has a direct, immediate impact on output. We're talking the physical roads the trucks drive on, or the electricity firing up the factories. Social infrastructure, on the other hand, things like schools, hospitals, and housing, well, that builds the workforce indirectly. Both are absolutely vital, for sure. But for this explainer, we're focusing squarely on those direct, physical drivers of the nation's output.
Moving on to section 2, the nerves, which covers transport and communications. If agriculture and industry are the body, this is exactly how the organism feels, moves, and reacts to the world around it.
Okay, check out this literally staggering number. 1.2 million. The Indian Railways are the nation's second largest employer, and it takes over 1.2 million people just to keep the trains moving. This network started way back in 1853 with just a tiny 34-kilometer stretch. Today, it's the absolute backbone of the country's logistics. It hauls bulky goods, links surplus regions to areas that are desperately in need, prevents famines, and just generally drives commerce across the board. And it's not just trains. This whole interconnected network of roads, railways, and airways acts as the vital arteries of the country, moving millions of passengers and crucial freight every single day. And each mode has its own specific job, right? Rail is super economical for heavy goods over long hauls, while air transport is your fastest option, completely bypassing geographical headaches like massive mountain ranges or oceans. But when you look at the roads, wow, the sheer diversity is just incredible. Indian roads have to simultaneously accommodate literally everything, from traditional bicycles and bullock carts to massive modern commercial freight lorries. And because India is still largely an agrarian economy, roads are uniquely essential. Unlike a fixed rail line, roads can snake right into the very heart of remote villages, making them the perfect partner to the broader railway network. To really put this into perspective, consider this. India's vast web of highways, district paths, and rural roads spans over 66.71 lakh kilometers. That is over 6.6 million kilometers. That makes it the second largest road network on the entire planet. It carries a massive 71% of the country's freight and 85% of passenger traffic. It's just a completely indispensable asset for internal trade and everyday mobility.
Now, what about the digital nervous system? Well, telecommunications are absolutely booming. We're talking over 1.17 billion subscribers, making it the world's second largest internet user base. And the launch of 5G services back in October 2022, that was a massive game changer. This isn't just about faster video streaming, folks. It's actively narrowing the rural-urban divide, it's delivering mass education, and it's fundamentally rewiring how business is done across the entire subcontinent.
Let's keep moving inward to section 3, the bloodstream, which is banking and insurance. If transport is the nervous system, finance is absolutely the bloodstream. It keeps the organism healthy, expanding, and resilient. Because, let's face it, without capital flowing to exactly where it's needed, the economic body simply shuts down. And right at the center of it all is the heart, the Reserve Bank of India. Established back in 1935 and headquartered in Mumbai, the RBI pumps capital, regulates the money supply, and oversees the entire banking framework. It actually holds the sole monopoly on issuing currency notes, acting as the crucial anchor that keeps public confidence in the financial system rock solid.
From that heart, credit flows outward through a surprisingly diverse network: public sector banks, private banks, regional rural banks, and cooperative banks. This multi-layered structure is absolutely genius because it ensures a sprawling heavy industry factory gets its massive funding, while at the exact same time, a remote village farmer can get the short-term microcredit they need to buy next season's seeds. It literally paves the way for uniform development across totally different sectors. Oh, and we can't forget the safety net. Insurance transfers individual risk into a massive collective pool of funds. You've got life insurance, which gives long-term financial protection for a family in the event of an untimely death, basically lasting a lifetime. And then you have general insurance, which is more of a short-term annual contract covering specific sudden events, like a car accident or a factory fire. Together, they create this really robust financial shield.
Next up, Section 4, the engine and fuel. Let's take a look at what actually powers this enormous machine. Specifically, the energy grids that light up the factories and the agricultural water supply that feeds the nation.
I always find this breakdown fascinating. While green, renewable energy is a really important and fast-growing slice of the pie, sitting at around 17.5%, the lion's share of India's power is still heavily reliant on conventional thermal sources like coal and oil, which make up nearly 67%. This energy is the essential fuel dictating national output. Without it, those rich natural resources just sit idle, and modern service sectors like IT simply couldn't exist.
And then there's water. As Sir Charles Trevelyan famously noted, irrigation is everything in India. Water is even more important than land. For a primarily agrarian economy that has historically been at the mercy of highly unpredictable monsoons, controlled water access isn't just nice to have, it dictates basic survival. Developing irrigation means farmers can grow 2 or even 3 crops a year instead of just 1. That dramatically boosts prosperity for the farmers and, realistically, the entire nation.
So how do they get that water? Well, tapping into groundwater through wells and tube wells is the absolute lifeline here, making up 56% of the total irrigated area, with canals following at 32%. Having these reliable sources is a total game changer. It means farmers can confidently invest in high-yielding seeds and fertilizers, knowing for sure that their hard work isn't just going to wither away during a dry spell.
Finally, let's look at Section 5, the diagnosis. We've seen how everything should work, but what happens when the nerves, bloodstream, or engines start to fail? Let's look at the severe symptoms that pop up when this economic body is underdeveloped. When infrastructure falters, a pretty nasty, vicious cycle kicks off. It goes like this. A shortage of power means the country's vast natural resources sit totally unutilized. Because those resources aren't being exploited, industrial growth chokes, which deters foreign investment. That lack of growth restricts new jobs to overcrowded urban centers, putting immense pressure on agricultural land. And ultimately, it drags down the standard of living for the broader population. So we leave you with this pivotal question to chew on. India has vast resources and immense manpower, but can its infrastructure evolve fast enough to carry the weight of its future? The potential is undeniably immense, for sure, but unlocking that potential depends entirely on the constant evolution of its nervous system, bloodstream, and engines. Thanks so much for joining me on this explainer. Keep exploring and keep learning.